So I'm working on the plugin project. So I started with the plugin store in front end. So this is how it looks. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
All right. So we have a search plugin. Right now I haven't added any plugin, and the CDN is later part of project. So I did add a upload plugin button. So we can select a plugin which I have already zipped in my local. So this shows basic information like it is a to-do list plugin which integrates for everyone. We have two routes, one for admin and other for normal users. These are the files that are present in the zip. So we can add this plugin. So, let's refresh. Yes, so this shows to-do list. So right now I do not have an endpoint for uploading files and like distributing over repositories. So I already have it in my folder like to-do list, but later it will be automatically unzipped and put it here so we can manage, and I'll activate the plugin. So after activation, I have a extension point in the left drawer. So this shows it is not registered. We can give a quick refresh. All right. So this dynamically adds a new route to-do list slash manage, which is only accessible by the admin. And here we can like this is all dummy. So I have done this much only right now. We can deactivate this, we can uninstall, we can keep the data if we have to install it back in future, so the database will be retained, or we can remove it permanently. And I have GraphQL endpoints for all plugins, creating plugins, update, delete. So like everything is already in sync, from plugin manager scraping the repositories dynamically, and I have a extension point here. Mm, yeah, for admin and plugin routes. So any plugin which defines new routes here, these will be dynamically added to the code base without making any modifications to our router. Also, we can add the this is extension point for drawer, which is this one, so it adds icon here. So that's all what I have done till now.
Okay, this looks really good. I'm glad to see that the requirement has been interpreted so well.
Thank
I have some questions.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you'll notice when I'm asking questions is I don't tend to ask questions related to the technical implementation. I think that is something that your mentors should be focusing on. I generally ask questions related to the user experience. So I
All
wanted,
right.
okay, so want to ask some questions there. You
Yes.
mentioned that you wanted to have a plugin store,
Yeah.
and at currently we don't have that infrastructure in place. And though we
Yes.
may want to have that in future, in the interim, until we reach a certain scale or size, we're going to have to provide people with the option of uploading the plugins from zip files, like you'd mentioned. So
Yes.
we need to make sure that that's a possibility, and we should consider ways in which the official Tallow plugin store can be, or plugin repository can be added. So now we have I think we have the new Tallow plugins
Yes.
repository. Right. So it may just suit us to um, have that option to just
Um,
automatically do that until we get the plugin store. Okay.
Yes, it is already there. Like I have added, it is somewhere in the code, but it
Okay.
scrapes the CDN also. But we do not have anything, so we do not get any result. And we also have second option to upload from zip. So we have both right now.
Okay. But when you say CDN, what do you mean? Do you mean the GitHub or do you mean, please explain.
No, CDN like content delivery network. Like we have phone software updates, and the normal company ships app like a Play Store or something. So we can have some free CDN services that scrape our repositories, and from that it delivers the files.
Okay, but could we do that directly from GitHub so that we wouldn't have to do yet another or have yet another relationship? Because the
Yeah,
relationship, the reason I'm
we can
asking, yeah,
definitely
go ahead.
scrape, yeah, we can definitely scrape this repository without any CDN, and we'll get the data required. But there is a catch. The people who set the lava, they need to add a GitHub token in environment because GitHub do not allow scraping because of rate limiting. So they'll have to use their token, and they might not be comfortable to share it.
Okay, I
Yeah,
see.
and CDN is completely free.
All right. All right, we're going to have to think this through a little bit more because what this means or what this implies is that we as an organization are going to have some sort of contractual relationship with a CDN,
Yes.
even if it's free.
Yeah.
And that's one more thing that we're going to have to manage. So I really would prefer if we could do it. Let's keep it simple to start with, where people can just upload a zip file.
Yeah.
And okay, all right. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about just in general is that at some point we're going to need to start thinking about role-based access control. And it may be best for us to think about how that could be implemented on a URL or URI basis. And that may be beyond the scope of your particular project. But what I'd like for you to start thinking about is how can we start using this URIs to help us with RBAC in future. So if you're going to be doing this plugin store, and I know this is going to be only accessible via the admin screens, right?
Sure.
That we also take that into consideration as a part of it. Because based on,
It is.
okay, go ahead. Because
I,
go ahead.
yeah, I already have the role-based access. Like this is a route, and if I go to a normal user account, and I think I did already log in.
Okay,
So if I try to go this, it will show not found for
right,
user. For admin, it is like I
right.
think it. Mm,
Yeah, because yes, I see what you're saying. Because users have the slash user in the URI, it makes it
yeah,
easier. But at some
I think
point, yes, but at some point, I think we're going to need to do the same thing for the admins and have a slash admin in the URI. But that is beyond the scope of this. We probably want to do that
all right.
at some later point. But this is good. Is there any way in which you can set it up such that you don't have to do a manual refresh after loading the plugins?
Uh, no, I can think of it, but probably it will require some kind of polling, which will increase load. But maybe I can use some. I can make better hooks, which like
Remember,
uh,
remember that for this particular purpose, the plugins are not going to be added in in a very regular way. It's not going to be a very high transaction count.
sure.
So, right, so even if it takes a little more more resources to figure out how that works, I don't think it'll be a burden on any system.
Right.
Okay.
And are we expecting like 100 or 150 plugins enabled at the same moment?
Oh, I see from that side. I don't think so for most organizations. Oh, I see. So you're saying that if they had 150 plugins, then that
Yeah.
refresh would cause issues. Um,
Yes, there is a problem.
yeah.
Like we do npm run start in production. So once the code which we initially had is,
Mm-hmm.
if we make any changes to it, it will not be shown in the running platform.
Okay.
So what we are doing in plugin, we are adding more files when the production is already running.
I see.
So yeah, so I am not directly reading file. I am reading a particular location. So in that location, if we have new export, then it will be read. and that will be stored in RAM instead of storage, because when we are already running npm run start in production, we cannot access more of the storage. We
Right.
can store new things in RAM, so it is taking more resources. So if we have 100 plugins, it will be 100 times used RAM. So
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Oh,
and VS
okay.
Code same thing. So we do not have like any other way.
Okay, so you're saying that if you're loading, if we wanted to load multiple sets of plugins,
Yes,
okay, it could be stored in RAM. All
yeah,
right, but
because
even though the
we,
but the files would be okay, but the files would be put in on the file system, but for the purposes of the application, it would be accessed in RAM.
yes, the files will be in the available folder, but manager will scrape the folder continuously for new export rather than new files.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yes.
okay, and that's where the load will come in.
Yeah, and the React, there is one more problem. In React Router, we have already seen it takes a lot of time to load the page because
Right.
all the components are loaded router. In Next.js, the routing is optimized in like directory structure. So if we had that kind of router, then we can directly point to the folder itself rather than importing it. So adding 100 new routes for 100 plugins will be like a lot of load when it is
Okay.
dynamically added.
Okay. All right. I think this is something that you'll need to discuss further with your mentors, but this is a good starting point, and I'm glad to see that you've made this progress. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right, who's next? Does anybody have any questions in general or suggestions for Jai? All right, doesn't seem that way. Okay, who wants to go next? Complete silence. All right, go ahead, Abby.
Okay. Um, so yeah, I have been working on the design so far. So I started by researching what tools are like similar to SwitchMap NG, and after I had a discussion with Peter too. So I'll present my design now. Okay. So SwitchMap will have like 3 pages. This will act like the home page. This contains information about the devices. So from here we can choose the zone, and accordingly the topology will appear here. So and in order to keep things neat and not cluttered, I gave this hover effect on the connections and devices. Actually, let's start now. So like this. And then we have the devices overview section here. It will give like an overview of all the devices in the zone. And if you hover over one device, you can see all the relevant charts. So this can be changed according to the feedback of a user or something. Um, and you can access the device details page from either of these sections. So if you click here, this will give more details on the device. So this will have the adjacent devices and some metadata. And this is the table that's currently in SwitchMap-ng right now. And there will be one more tab for the charts. So as of now, it's the same charts as before, but I was thinking maybe we can add more like time periods to this. We can see last month, last 6 months or something, or we can just use only the most important ones in the dashboard section. And this is the so from here, if you hover over the ports, you can see just the last 24 hours bandwidth consumption. Um, then from here, you can navigate to the ports page. So this is all bandwidth related. And so all these charts we can change according to some feedback from some company that's using SwitchMap. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, I'm just looking at this page, and it's really good to see that you have traffic, the unicast packets, etc. We It may be good for us to have potentially tabs for this, and
Okay.
for each of the headings for traffic unicast packets, just like what you had with charts versus ports in the previous screen. The reason for
Yeah.
this is because quite often network devices can have dozens and dozens of interfaces. And
I
when
see.
and then when you have this particular page, you could have, for example, if it's a 48 port device, you could have
Yeah.
48 for traffic, 48 for unicast traffic, 48 for whatever. And that can then create load on the system, right?
But Peter, this is actually for just one port. From the device page,
Oh,
we
I
can,
see. This is for one port.
yeah,
So each of these charts
yeah.
is okay. So this is, but then why is it that we have four traffic items here and four unicast packets?
This is from another tool that's like similar to us.
Oh,
So
I
that's
see.
why,
Okay, so
yeah.
it really, in reality, it would be just one chart for each of these
No,
subheadings.
actually, like different matrices. But that's why I said, according if we can get some feedback, like what charts are useful for troubleshooting, we can add that here instead
Okay.
of, yeah.
All right. I know that we have another session right after this to discuss it,
Yeah.
right? And I will use that time to explain a little bit more. But I like the layout. It's much better than what we had discussed
Yeah.
about a week earlier. And I think with just a little more modification, we can get it to something that would be usable. A feature
Okay.
that is going to be important is one in which you can select which charts you want to view or ones that
Okay.
you want for polling. And the reason for that is I think we went over Cacti as one of these products. And with
Yeah.
Cacti, you can select which interfaces you want to be charted.
Okay.
And that affects the poller that's going to be polling the information. And the
Okay.
reason for that is the fewer items that you're polling, the better the
Yeah.
response of the poller itself.
Okay.
So that is, and then it has implications for the performance of the API and the backend database as well. So
Okay.
that's going to be an important factor. When you did the mouse overs in the previous
Yeah.
screen and you were showing the charts, are those charts dynamically generated or would those be stored in some sort of a cache prior? Because I was wondering about,
So,
yeah, because I was wondering, like here,
yeah.
I was wondering whether that means that we are suddenly creating database calls for all of these
Oh,
items, right? And then that could potentially cause the charts to be slower.
not,
It,
okay.
right, so we're going to need to think about that. And
Okay.
typically, what I have seen is that with these sorts of charts, because the load of generating the charts is so high, this depends, of course, on whether it's real time or not. But typically, what
Yeah.
happens is that you don't usually have charts with mouse overs. You have to do a definitive action as
Okay.
and like a click, and then that then causes the charts to be generated.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Peter, so our last discussion, you mentioned something like the historical data can be shown when we hover over the device. That's what I meant actually,
Oh,
but maybe I'll think of some other way to show the historical data, not
yes.
as charts, but yeah.
Yes, I mentioned that, but when I did that, I wasn't thinking about the potential for the load implications.
Okay, but like if we can show it as some other forms, not as charts, like just a few like time
Possibly.
formings. Yeah.
Possibly. Let's talk about it in a few more minutes. And
Okay.
okay, because I want to make sure that everybody else has a chance to speak. Okay.
Yeah. I just I want to mention one more thing. So the
Mm-hmm.
four charts, these are all like from same matrices. Like it's just different forms of charts. When I looked into it,
Okay,
it's not like
I
yeah.
see. All right, let's talk about it again.
Okay.
There has been really good progress in adapting to what we discussed the last time, and I think with a few more adaptations, we'll have something that would be really useful for network engineers.
Okay.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Okay. Thank
All right, who's next? I want to make sure that we get this one done really quickly because we don't have a lot of time. All right, Syed, please go ahead.
So hi everyone. So I've been working on the Talaba and Sesame project. So I will walk you through what I have done this week. Share my deliverables for the week as well. So just let me share my screen. For the week one, the primary focus was to just establish the base foundation for the E2E testing. So also we had a discussion with my mentor. So we decided to transition from the earlier decided technology that was using GSM Puppeteer. So we decided to move with Cypress. So because in order to it have better features and tooling, so we went with that. In addition to that, we also implemented commit lint in the project itself to ensure that we have a well structured commit messages. So what our progress was that we set up an initial structure for the E2E testing in the Talaba admin repo for now. So I configured the test environment just using Cypress and also introduced a new directory in the root project as well with different subdirectories. And also wrote some basic authentication login tests for both the admin and the user as well, and also implemented committing in the Talab admin for now. So, all this progress would account of about 15% of the total project work, as discussed with Tasneem ma'am earlier. So as you can see over here, we have introduced a new directory in the root project under Cypress. So it contains E2E fixtures, page objects, and support folders as well. So in the E2E folder, we will be writing all the specs and test specs regarding different functionalities. For example, we have a login functionality or testing the dashboard as well. In the fixtures, we will be having the hard-coded data, for example, the credentials, if you could say. So in the users.json, we will be having the details of super admin, or the user as well. In the page objects, it would contain all the methods in a class object that would contain all the methods that would be used inside a test. For example, over here, as you can see, I have added a screenshot for the admin login. So you can see that these are the methods that we are using on the login page over here. So it's just a basic test for now that works for both. That test for both super admin and admin function login functionality. We will be enhancing this further, but for now, this works fine. And also the Cypress configuration files also are set up, and committing configuration files also set up in the folder itself. And regarding how to run these tests, we have added a function. We have added a script for running the test in the terminal itself using cyrun. As you can see over here, the test would be run in the terminal itself, and we would be able to show all the specifications regarding it in the terminal itself. And if you want you to execute the test in the browser itself and see how the tests are being running in real time in the browser, you could just easily run npm run cyopen, and this will run all the tests in the browser itself. So as you can see over here, we have added sessions over here. Added logins. It would automatically log in for the Talava admin portal on the Talava admin portal, and then execute the script. Later on for the next week, I have been discussing with my mentor Kevania, and we have decided that I would be working on Talava API repo as well. So for now, for this week, I would set up all the Husky, ESLint pretty Husky part on the Talava API repo. I would also start setting up the environment for the integration testing as well on the Talava mobile repo as well, and later on continue working on both of these repo for expanding the E2E test. And also for the later part of the project that we have discussed that we have to automate the unit test generation in all the repos. So we will be using deploy for it, but as a prerequisite, we will be needing a API key for an LM. I did have a talk about this with my mentor. He told me that he would get back to me with that with it. So yep. So that's it from my side. Any questions?
Right,
Go ahead.
right. So I just have one question. I think somebody else wanted to. Okay, somebody in the chat. Let's just double check. Okay, so this is Manish. Okay, so we already have Biome and Left Hook for the API. Why do we need it?
So
Husky and ESLint and Prettier.
actually, I did propose that in my proposal that it would be better for us to use similar patterns or in our repos, like in the admin itself and the API itself. So that's just why we need Husky. We will be using Husky in Talava API repo.
Okay,
So
okay, because you just want to have consistency in general.
yeah, yep, yep.
Okay, yeah, I know. Is this going to create any disruption in the in our ability to do further coding? Okay, so Biome is way better than ESLint. Please don't run into the issues we're having right now. Okay.
So I had to discuss that. This was with my mentor then.
Okay.
Actually,
Yeah, my one of my concerns is that we are and like we're going with the Cypress thing, and we just finished spending weeks and weeks and weeks like with the admin side migrating from Jest to Vitest, I think, and because people said it was a much better system, etc. And then somebody else said that we're going to go with Biome. What I don't want is every single year we decide to change the testing regimen just because we feel that something's better. And then we were creating what people would call busy work. I is specifically for Cypress. Is Cypress, and I'm not familiar with it, is Cypress specific for end-to-end testing? Would we be abandoning the unit testing that we have currently?
no, we will not be abandoning the unit testing. The Cypress is just for the E2E testing and the component testing if you want that. But our major focus is to just test on just set up the E2E test. So it would not interfere with any of the previous tests that we already have or we
Okay.
have configured.
Yeah, I would suggest that you resist all temptations to change the testing regimen, just like what Manish said. Let's just it if it works, and let's just leave it alone. It took so much time for us to do the changes in, I think it was January, February, and March for admin, and I really would prefer if we, as much as possible, try to maintain what we have. If we feel that Biome is better in general, I would much rather see that later on. The aim right now is not to change a whole lot. The aim now is to get to an MVP.
Right.
Okay. And I don't want there's some stuff that we could do maybe next year in terms of rationalizing and doing some refactoring. But the aim this year is to get to a reliable MVP, and a reliable MVP is going to require good end-to-end testing. But we need to have end-to-end testing with the minimum amount of disruption. So if you can do
Right.
that, that'd be really helpful. I understand that uh, that many of these things may be better in certain circumstances. We have to really resist temptation. I always mention to people that if we're going to be changing things, we have to have really good justification. The new packages need to be supported by a company of reputation in the background, and we really don't want to make sure that uh, we really want to make sure that we protect ourselves in the long run. Okay. Yes,
Right.
and if yeah, and if Biome is written in Rust, I know that Rust is a high performance language, so let's see what we can do, but not necessarily Biome now. Okay, let's leave what we have, and then maybe at the end, after the code has been merged in, and you decide that yeah, maybe I have a little extra time, then think of that later on. Okay.
Right. Right.
All right. So I have another question. If you're If in 1 week you've gone through 15% of the code base, it sounds as if you'll be finished before the end of July. What does that mean for the rest of the GSoC period?
I think for the A2E testing part, I am focusing that I would be able to finish it within the end of July. But
Okay.
later on that, after that, I would be majorly focusing on the automating the unit test generation part. So that
Oh,
is a major part of the project as well.
okay.
So yep,
All
yeah.
right. That helps. And then potentially, all right. Yes, Jai, please go ahead. You can go. All right. Thank you very much. One thing that we need to make sure, Syed, is that you document this very thoroughly.
Just definitely, definitely.
Okay, so don't do this without the markdowns in the DocuSource folders. Like, the more that we can have this documentation better managed, the better it will be for us. Okay, thanks, guys. Thanks, Syed. Any questions for Syed?
No, thank you.
Okay,
Anyone else?
all right. Who's next? We're
Thank you so
making
much.
good progress. Okay, Manish, and then Divyanshu.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
So throughout my last week, we made some discussion on the project, and I made a documentation on it. I should share it. Okay. So, yeah, so it was the documentation I discussed with my mentors, and we made the schema design. There will be a one table for notification logs, where we'll store the notifications, and there will be one notification audience that will map our notification ID with the target user. And there will be a template. There will be a template table where we'll store the templates with the dynamic variables, so we can generate the render content later on, or at the time of we are creating the notification logs. That will depend on our performance, so I have to test both the cases, then I will decide that later thing. And here is the things that will in the notification log table will be notification id, template id, that we'll use for that particular notifications. Variables will insert in the body here, right here. And I did this render content. I think we'll do this on query moment. When we query the notification, we'll generate the render content, and we'll send those to the front ends like Talao and Talao admin. So it was the documentation on the schema designs. So yes, and these are the events we can send notifications to the users. So these are the organization related notifications, post related notifications, agenda folder and agenda items related notifications, and these are the other stops. So mem said, nah, Disa mem said he will come to a meet and will generate the notification template for all these events. And after that, we will be generating the render content with the variables right here. So for now, I think yes, I did the notification audience table in the API. I created this one, and here is the log table and the template table. Currently I'm writing the engine, notification engine. I
Okay.
think this will be over within next 2-4 hours. Then we can actually create notification and set things in the DB itself.
That's really good to see. Now,
Yes. And I raised a PR on my assigned issue later.
okay.
That was 1 month ago. I was assigned.
All right. Yeah, please work with your mentors to get that stuff merged. I have been spending a little less time on the repos over the last week or two, and I think it's really best for the mentors to take an active interest in your progress. Now, Jai had mentioned that he has concerns about performance with the
Yes,
plugins.
sir.
Do you
Yeah.
feel that there would be issues with performance with notifications based on the
No,
current
sir.
architecture?
There won't be no. There won't be any performance issue as we will having something heavily related to API, and there will be just a simple query from our front end that will show up the notifications. But I try to implement the admin part as well, the front end part. But there are a lot of issue in the admin panel. Like if you can see, if you're running ESLint, then it's giving about 4,000 something errors.
Oh boy.
So it's actually not a good thing. And someone raised a PR like he has changed the ESLink configs and it is messed up totally. And there is lots of issues. I think this needs to be fixed first. Otherwise, we'll have a very big issue TypeScript with ESLint.
Okay. All right. If you can fix that, I don't quite know how we'd fix it, but okay, we have 4,000 problems is just not good. All right.
Yes, I think I will look into this tonight, and if I find some solutions, then I'll surely raise a PR quickly and
Yeah,
fix
even if it means um, doing some ignore statements, and then we can create separate
Uh,
issues to do,
yeah,
right?
I was thinking of that. We'll use
Yeah,
biome in the Talova admin because the biome is very much consistent because it's written in Rust and ESLint. Every time their package upgraded and some new issues arise with ESLint. I've been
yeah,
facing my personal project also. So
yeah.
I think
Yeah, we should probably go with biome, but once again, we need to think about getting
yes,
to an MVP.
yeah. I'll check it. If I can fix this ESLint issue itself, then it will be better for us to be at ESLint, not jump into
Okay,
biome.
right. We potentially we're working on getting some interns over the summer, and maybe we could get them to think about biome. But I don't want the GSoC stuff to be put in jeopardy for an MVP because of migrating to biome right now. Okay?
Okay, sir. Okay, I will try to fix this ES20 issues.
Yeah, yes, Lint. It's over the years. Every time I do an upgrade, like with using what's the thing called again? Dependabot. It
Yeah.
just creates problems all the time. Yeah, I really would like to have something that's more consistent. I don't understand why the ESLint team
No,
makes so many
no, sir.
changes that
This
are
PR was this
disruptive.
PR was raised by our one of our contributor, and when ESLint changed their configuration to JSON file instead of ESLint IISC,
That's
I think
right.
that will come. Yes, and he messed up with that configuration file. I think it's his mistake, and I will find out.
Okay. All right. Then we can. Okay, as a separate issue, we can figure out the biome thing. All right. Thank you very much. This
Yes.
is, and just to be very clear, this notification system is completely within the code base, right? We're not relying on a third party.
No, sir. It's
Okay.
completely in our API.
All
No
right.
issues.
Okay, good. Yeah, because we really need to have a standalone system. The reason being that many of the people that are going to be using Tallower are going to be non-profits with not a large budget, and I wanted to try as much as possible for us to insulate the
It,
Palisades Foundation from obligations of thousands and thousands of Tallower users. Okay, this is
yes, sir.
good. Is anybody else going on? Oh, yes, that's right. Divyanshu, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
so this week I worked on the documentation and some other leftover work around event spread operations. So, as you know, the recurring events are the core feature of our application. After discussions with mentors, I've refined the implementation approach to avoid rushing into development, given the challenges we faced previously. So past implementation led to issues like database bloating and complex associations with features such as action items, agenda items, and volunteers as recurring events were treated as single instances. So to address this, we are now adopting a new structure, a completely new structure, which is a base recurring event will act as a parent with individual recurring events as its children's, similar to like inheritance in object-oriented programming. So we have completed the documentation, created the schema and SQL tables, and finalized the inner working of this for this approach. So we have also finished the migrating the CRUD operation for events to Postgres. So in this week, I will be focusing on migrating action items and other related features, completing as much as possible. And after that, I will begin implementing the recurring events functionality because we need a feature like action item agenda or maybe volunteers to so because without that we cannot work on the association part. So yeah, this is the
Okay.
progress for this week.
All right. So, are you using the rdate package? I think that was the name of it. That was
R
that was used before. Was it rdate or what is it called again?
RR rule library, I
RR
think.
rule. That's right. Are we using that, or are we
Yeah.
using something? Okay, but we're just implementing it in a slightly different way with the new tables, etc.
Yeah, so like we are using the RR library, but the thing is we will be creating different tables for all the features like storing. Uh, I have completed the documentation, so it covers all the problems and its solutions. Like
Okay.
after creating the different tables for each feature, we will not have a lot of or millions of records for a large number of events
Yes.
because we
Go ahead.
yeah, because suppose if we need to make some exceptions or for a particular event in a series of recurrence series, so we can create a new table for those events in an exception table. So that will not bloat our database. So that's the approach we are going to implement.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah, because as you know, we reached a point very quickly where the application became unusable. Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
Now, Mito did implementation of the recurring meetings, etc. last year, and I think he's your mentor. And one of the things that he was also supposed to do, related to the recurring events, was to create dashboards for attendance. Is that in the restoring that feature? Is that within the scope of your GSoC project?
yeah, that's in the scope of projects. We will be working on attendance of volunteers and yeah.
Okay, and both attendance of okay, attendance in general, right, of regular people with the check-ins, etc.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, because we definitely need that. All right, thank you. All right, so Parag has a question. Let's see his hand raised.
Yeah, so I want to know, like, Divyanshu, can you give a deadline or any idea, like, at what time you will be completed by volunteers thing?
Like my project covers the like recurring events and other migration stuff which is not completed yet.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of like complete action items or any volunteer stuff because I looked at the volunteer. It's not present in our current backend, so we need to implement that from scratch. We have
Yeah,
some idea.
if I'm not
Yeah.
wrong, you have worked on volunteers, I think. Yeah, right? Volunteers.
No, I haven't.
So, like, do you have ideas, like, if you are gonna work on it, so like, if you could give a deadline because there is a dependency on volunteers from Mohit's side. it need to be implemented on backend first, then we need to implement it on mobile side. So like you can like tell us, like just give an idea, like if you wanna work on it, and if you are, because we as Peter mentioned, we have like some summer interns, so like we can handle that in that case. But yeah, Mohit have dependency and we need to figure out how we are gonna do that.
So yeah, the thing is like the main feature we need to implement is recurring event. And after if I get like time, then I will give priority to volunteers. But like I am thinking to complete some these leftover migrations, so we get complete our most of the MVP project, MVP features like which is not implemented in Postgres. So if you want like I can work on volunteers this week so I can complete its back end and front end
Yeah, I
because
mean,
I am work.
you don't have to complete front end because it's not at that priority. At mobile side, I think it's more priority if I'm not wrong, because mainly users mainly will be on app, and volunteers is something mainly admin side. It's not a admin side thing, it's more of a client side thing, so we need to implement it faster on mobile side if I'm not wrong.
Right. So it's going to need to be done on the API
Yeah,
quickly. Yeah.
we
Okay.
Yeah,
need the backend for that, and if you could just focus on the backend and complete it. I mean, you don't have to
yeah.
give
So
a priority because it's not a GSoC project, but yeah, if you are able to do that, then yeah, it will be better.
yeah, yeah. It's a part of like GSoC project because we have a lot of features which is migrated yet from like MongoDB to Postgres. So I will try to complete the backend this week, and if I get any time in this week, so I will also work on the front end part also. Then I can work on the recurring events.
Yeah,
So
so that will be good. And if you will be completed, do share the API contracts with Mohit. Get in touch with Mohit and
yeah,
let him know. Yeah.
yeah, okay,
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
and yeah, and
Parag.
Peter, I wanted to ask you a question.
Oh, hang on a second before the question. Parag, related to any other additional work that may be required that's non-GSOC related for the interns, please coordinate with Noman.
Okay.
He's been working with them to try to vet who we want to bring on board.
Okay. Got it.
All right, thank you. Divyanshu, please go ahead.
Yeah. So why did we remove the Redis as our caching layer? As I recall, it was because Redis become a paid service. So are we currently using any alternative caching layer or reduce query time in events? I'm considering database pooling as a potential alternative, as it could help optimize performance. So what are your thoughts on this?
Um, could it be something that we could run with like memcached, which would be offer similar features, but it would be could be hosted on the same server?
Okay. So like it requires a significant amount of work or time because if it's like a very small package or something like that, then we can work on
Yeah, well,
caching part.
ba based on my well, what, coding is not my primary focus in life, but I have used memcached for some internal applications in my company, and it is relatively straightforward for key pairs in caching in memory. And the packages that I've used it with, it seems to be well documented. I thought I saw somebody raise their hand or had a comment. Let me just double check. Okay, it was Manish. Okay, Manish, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. I think we need Redis for our API also because GraphQL subscription use pops up under the hood, and currently we are using in-memory PubSub, which is very inefficient. So
Okay,
I think adding Redis to our API will be very good thing, as Divyansh will use Redis as a case, and I will also use that as a PubSub.
right. But is okay? But Redis is a key pair store in cache, isn't it?
Yes, sir. But that also has a feature named PubSub, Redis PubSub.
Oh, I see. So that you want to have some additional features related to it. Um,
But I think it's not free for production ready. It was, but it's not right
Yeah,
now.
it's again open source right now. I think a few days or a few months ago, it's open source right now again.
Oh, okay.
Okay, all right. We need an open source product. We need something that is hopefully not a cloud service that can be run locally on the machine.
No, sir, we can run Redis self-hosting. I think we can do that. I'm currently using Redis as a self-hosted on Railway. I think is
Yes, yeah. Whatever the solution is, we need to have it. And but you're saying that if it's production related, it needs a license. Is that what you're saying?
no, sir. I
Yeah.
think Railway is the application that gives Redis. I think that's cost me $5 per month for hosting it, but that is
Oh,
self-hosted.
yeah, yeah. We need a self-hosted solution rather than an external solution, and uh, we can tell people who are going to be installing the application that they're going to need to have a certain minimum requirement to get the application running. Yeah, we need to reduce our dependency on third-party products, external third-party products that in like in a SaaS environment. Okay.
Okay,
So
Divya,
I'll
I am not
go ahead,
please go.
Divyanshu.
Yeah, so I am not aware of the problem that we faced last year about Redis. It made a lot of mess because I think in removing or there was some errors with Redis. I am not aware of it. So if I may need Redis after completing the like whole project because we don't know how events will perform or
Okay.
how much query time will it reduces or anything. I have like we are expecting that it will reduce significantly, but we are not sure
Okay.
uh, of that.
I wasn't aware that Redis had been removed, but let's put it back in if you feel that it can be done in a way that improves performance but doesn't create a burden of additional configuration.
I think
Okay.
Vedant Gupta has a PR on rate limiting, and he introduced Redis in the API a few months ago.
Okay,
Uh,
so I think we can discuss more on this and maybe create a project for interns.
okay.
Maybe
All right. Okay. Let's do that. Parag, if you're talking with Anoman, let's get that also on the agenda for those guys. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Divyanshu, there's hope on the horizon. Do you have any other questions there?
no.
All
Thank you.
right. Thanks. All right. Think I think Abhishek is the last person, right?
Yeah, Mohit.
Oh,
Mohit is
Mohit.
also.
Okay, Mohit. Okay, Mohit. Let's go. We don't have much time. I have like 5 minutes before my next meeting.
I've been working on the Java mobile refactoring, and the authentication part is now completed. Sign up and sign in is now completed, and user can easily sign up using organization ID. Yep. So, and I have started working on event, and as we discussed, uh, due to some lag in the API, uh, the models are ready, but the connection between API and app is not ready for them.
Oh, okay. So you need to. Are you going to be working on the API implementation, or is that the stuff that we were talking about with Divyanshu before?
Uh, no, I'm not working. So I am working for the mobile project, right?
Right.
So I'm
Right, but remember, Parag was talking about, I think it was the volunteer feature that was blocking your progress, right?
yes, but I'm not that proficient in the API part.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you're okay. All right, got it. Now, and I know that the mobile app was broken in many places because of the migrations. Are you going to be restoring that capability, or is that going to be something for the interns?
Yeah. So let
Go ahead.
me. Yeah. So Mohit will be working on post now. He will be
Right.
working. He will be fixing posts.
Mm-hmm.
After
Yeah.
post, as volunteers had dependency on Divyanshu. So like when Divyanshu will be done with it, so we will move to events and we will do the refactoring and all the part of events.
Okay. All right, because I know that with the mobile app, what we did was that we just removed the icons for certain features before. And okay, so we definitely need to figure out how to restore some of that. Um, that's also something we're going to need to talk with Noman about as well.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thanks, Mohit. That's a good update. And then Abhishek, you're last but not least, and you're working on the API for SwitchMap, right?
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so last time we have discussed I was working on the prototype. So at that time I was implementing the PySNMP which we are using to replace EasySNMP that we currently have in the switch map. So as now I have the access to those Cisco devices as I got the credentials. So last couple of days I was running switch map locally. Although I was getting some problems, right? Like uh, like every time we run any daemons, a new uh, PID file get created. So what happening there was even when I was in the college, this problem was still there because ingester was not able to ingest data into the database.
Right.
So I was the problem was a small bug. Like I have to just delete those PID files, and when I run it again, like all the demos were correctly working. Also, like one more issue was it wasn't a issue. Like ingest the database like once in a day. Like it by default it was set, but I didn't like notice there at that time.
Okay.
And talking about my prototype, like since the last time I have been implementing now aggregator, like now the poller is polling the data. Like right now I am using still the SNMP simulator. Like there is a wide range of well-defined OIDs
Right.
for which I just for the testing purposes I am using. And now the aggregator is currently like working very fine, and Polar is successfully able to uh, send the data to the aggregator like using the zero MQ. There
Right.
is a push socket and the pull socket. Like using the push socket, I send the data to the aggregator on which a pull socket is listening at the endpoint. And and okay, so in the aggregator part, till now I have able to store the data locally into the SQLite database, and in the upcoming weeks, like what I have planned, that I will be implementing. There is a couple of more things which I have still to implement, like there in the switch map. If you see in the configuration file, there are zones divide, and also
Right.
the Cisco devices are currently under SNAP version 3 authentication security, right? So I have to also implement that into the prototype to access those Cisco devices. Then I will move to implement Curve MQ and ZAP for authentication, like authenticating each poller with the aggregator.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you're using a replacement package for the SNMP polling. What is the name of it?
PySNMP tools.
Okay, PySNMP. All right. And is that a faster package than EasySNMP?
EasyS and MP was like if you compare that EasyS and MP is comparatively faster than PySNMP, but the problem with EasyS and MP that it's synchronous, so we can't implement in the asynchronous environment.
Oh, I
So
see.
on the scale purpose, if we compare that PySNMP can compensate and it can work well at a scale level.
Okay. All right. The next thing that I wanted to ask is I think I used PySNMP with that some time ago. I don't remember why I migrated. Oh, I think it's because PySNMP is a 100% Python implementation and EasySNMP uses the NetSNMP C libraries. I think that was the reason why.
Yes.
Okay.
Like one more library, I found it Gufo SNMP, but the problem with it's actually Rust based, so it's actually very much faster than both of them. But it's very new, so maybe there could be some complication while setting it up because it's very new.
Yeah, we need something that's going to be faster. But let's once again we need to make sure we that can be next year's implementation. But okay. And what is the SNMP emulator that you're using?
It is SNMP sim, like.
Okay. There are packages. If you do a quick search, there are Python-based SNMP listeners. There are like 2 or 3 GitHub repos that have this thing where you can preload, like you can do an SNMP walk of a device, and you can take the SNMP walk file with some minor modifications, and the Python emulator, Python SNMP emulator, will read that file and present those values if somebody tries to access it on SNMP. The advantage of using this is that you can run multiple instances of these Python things on separate SNMP ports, so that you could in theory create hundreds of devices on your local machine, each on a different SNMP port, each having its own SNMP response, and then uh, you could work on the scaling in a way that you wouldn't have to rely on the little laboratory that we've set up for you.
Okay, I will go through the GitHub
I
repos.
will, because I need to implement this next week for some internal purposes, and I will try to, when I do further research on it next week, then I'll send you the information and I'll give you more data on how to get it all set up.
Okay.
I think that will make life a lot easier for you, and the, the more that we can emulate the scale, the better it'll be in general. So this is good.
Yeah, like the whole purpose of our project is to test this at a scalable level.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Thanks, Abhishek. This is good to hear. And the SQLite caching for the aggregator. The aggregator then sends data to the central API server. That's good to see. And I'm anxiously waiting to see this. One of the things that I would like to, one of the issues that we've had with SwitchMap in general is that the configuration file is a little difficult to manage, and we may want to think of ways in which some of these configurations could be stored in a database. So maybe towards the end of the GSoC project, you could start thinking about storing some of the configuration parameters there, and then that way people don't have to worry about the configuration file. The more we can put in a like a configuration table in the database, it's going to be just generally better. That way, the end user doesn't need to know about YAML and all this other stuff, right?
So
So
like they will update it through an UI, right?
yeah,
Then okay.
yeah, through the UI, and then
Then
that could be
Polar
something.
will get the config from the server, right?
Yes, from exactly.
Okay.
It'll make it easier because now the configuration would be available through an endpoint on the API.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that both you and Abby work on it in parallel, but closer to the end of the project. Okay? I think Abby's work is going to be completed a little. Her work is going to be completed fairly quickly because the UI is relatively simple, and the main challenge is trying to figure out how to do the optimizations um, for the charting. But then right after that, we need to start thinking about improving usability, and that would require a few more tables. And the acceptance of SwitchMap is going to be definitively based on its ability to um, to be easy to use, and it's not quite there yet. And I'm hoping that through the configuration in the database and also the use of Docker, it will just work a lot easier and be more usable for the end user. And then that would encourage people to start using it more and more. Okay?